Hello, hello, hello. How are you? It is so good to see everybody in the chat, and I need you all to help me out. I need to know if you can hear me. Go ahead, type in the chat, let me know. I think Mr. Sandeep is saying something to me. All right, Mr. Sandeep, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Type in the chat. All right, thank you, Ms. Mills. Ms. Mills said loud and clear. Oh, hey. Let me situate my headset for a minute. All right, so welcome, coders. Welcome to this is week 3 of the YouTube 16-week course. Yeah, we got a few more weeks to go, but how are you doing? How's everyone doing? Type in the chat. Let me know how your studying is coming, and I want you to be sincere, be honest. I'm not going to judge you at all. You help me when you tell me exactly what I need to know. Are you doing the work? Let me know. Go ahead and vent. Is it too much? Is it too little? Are you in another course where you're supplementing this work? What do you need from me? How can AMCI instructors help you? I need to know. All right? Okay. So while you're answering, I just want to say hello to my team. I'm going to scan this chat and I want to say hello first to Mr. Sandeep, Ms. Mills, Miss Haley. I see you. Let's see who else is here. All right, so when they come in, I'm going to say hello to them. Let's see. I see my interns in here. I see Miss Star Wars girl. You fooled me yesterday. All right. Let me see if I can. Miss Mills, please let me know if I've missed any of the interns, but they'll be popping in and just want to say hello. And I'm just going to just say hello. Hey, yeah, I remember you from last week, Lucky, and thank you so much for your survey response. Indeed. And I want to welcome Betty. I want to welcome Allegra, their new members. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, everybody, let's get started. The purpose of this class, I'm not going to say it every week, but the only thing that I want to say is the purpose is not to instruct. No, we're not here to instruct. We just kind of want to be your accountability partner. We want to keep you moving along. And if you don't meet, like do all of the homework, it's not a big deal, right? But these classes are advanced. So if you haven't done the work before class, it might be a little, you know, it'll be a little more taxing because you don't know some things and there's a presumption that you do. And I had somebody in my MCDC course say, "Hey, Mrs. J, I need you to sit here and open up the book with me." And I'm like, "We can't because you should have already got that." And I'm sure if you're advanced, you don't need me to do that. So just want to let you all know that. Someone said that studying sometimes is overwhelming and they're taking the CCS exam. It's intimidating. Well, the first thing is, um, I would say not to see it as overwhelming and make it, um, you know, develop your own study plan and make it into digestible, bite-sized nuggets. Don't, if you can't, if it's too much, make it enough for you. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, you can do it. All right, so somebody's enrolled in another course, but they're also taking this course to supplement. And they said this course has helped them understand everything so much better. And you know what? Honestly, you don't need that other course. Just saying. And there is a lot of people telling you that you have to be in an AAPC course. Absolutely not. Like, why would they tell you that? Well, they benefit. Just saying. You don't need it. In fact, if you want to know if you are ready for the exam, I tell you at the end of this course to go ahead and purchase their 3 exams. Those 3 exams are like the exam. Those A, B, and C exams, or yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F exams, those are identical to the, well, very similar, not identical, very similar to the medical coding exam. So if you want to know if you're ready, then take that. And my AMCI students, the MCDC students, because I can measure them, they're knocking that thing out of the park and knocking the exam out of the park. And you know what? If you do this work, you'll knock it out of the park. So don't let anyone tell you to buy something that you do not need. Just saying. All right. All right. So somebody said they missed the first couple of weeks, but it's okay. You can catch up. All right. Let's continue. All right, so I do have one big announcement. This is not the AMCI MCDC course. We kind of get that a lot. So this isn't the course. And I also want to tell you that Mondays, go to the our guidelines mastery classes on Monday. This Monday, Miss Haley is going to be talking about endocrine system. Yeah, and then you'll be ready for our class. So come on. And also, if you're getting the weekly emails, don't ignore them. I'm sending you, basically what's happening kind of as a reminder, and also giving you the links. So it's real helpful. Um, the MCG, it will be available next month, hardback, but the ebook is available now. All right, just want to remind you all to go ahead and register. You can RSVP for all of these classes from your syllabus. So the syllabus is your friend, and I would just kind of do them all. Register for all of them at the same time. And there's only 8 weeks on there because I don't want to inundate you. The next 8 weeks will come, closer to that time. But you just click on one link and then you click the notify me button and it should notify you. Okay. So we're getting a lot of people, not you all, but new people because people are joining at different times. They're looking for the information on the textbooks. They are here on your syllabus right at the top, and we will be using ICD-10 CM for the next week. So the first 8 weeks, ICD-10, we'll be using the ICD-10 CM manual. We'll also be using the MCG, and we'll be using the Evolve textbook. How to join Discord. The instructions are on your syllabus. All right. So, what are we talking about this week? Well, you had some things to do. You had to go ahead and study neoplasms. So, I want you to tell me how you feel, how you're doing. Are you comfortable with neoplasm guidelines, ICD-10 CM guidelines? Go ahead, type in the chat. Somebody said, "Where's that syllabus?" The syllabus is on the website www.amcicoding.com. Team. Oh, I'll type it in. www.amcicoding.com. I think that's it. www.amcicoding.com/YouTube course. There you go. All right. So talk to me. Let me know how you feel about neoplasms guidelines. And also let me know, did you do this homework? Um, did you watch the playback? This playback here, the green one. Did you read the official guidelines by CMS? Did you take a peek at the MCG manual? Did you do your Carol Buck's reading assignment? Did you watch the YouTube lectures that we've provided the link to? Did you watch the TAP lectures, which is in your TAP, your MCG manual? And there were additional neoplasms practice questions in Discord. Did you do that? And did and if you purchased that Bucks workbook, did you do any work in there? Go ahead and tell me. Great. Somebody and it the um guidelines course is not on this syllabus, but I will be adding it. said they went to that guidelines course and Miss Haley helped them so much. So they're saying thank you. Somebody said they like bucks. That's what I'm talking about. There's something for everyone. The learning, everyone learns differently. And we don't believe that we can, we appeal to everybody. So we do create ways for all of you all to kind of get it. All right. So if you purchased the gold course membership, the gold online course membership, you have an LMS and everything that you need is in here. Not too much different, but we did put some quizzes in there. So that's the biggest difference, in addition to, the handouts. So they don't really have to go to Discord to get anything. So it's just convenient. And so if that's what you want, you can upgrade if you need to, and you do that from YouTube. Speaking of, we've been having a problem with YouTube and Discord. If you're having any problems, let us know and we'll get you in your Discord. Okay, good deal. All right, so we call it part 2 review, but it's ICD-10-CM review. Now, this is what you should already know for this week. You should know you should know specific coding guidelines on coding neoplasms. You should be familiar with general coding guidelines because the specific will take precedence over the general. However, general matter, and only if there's a conflict, you'll use the specific. All right. And I think we have a circumstance where you will need to apply general coding guidelines. Also, you should be familiar. You should be familiar with specific diseases within neoplasms section that have guidelines associated with it. So you should know that, okay, there's guidelines. Not you don't need to know the guideline. Just know that a guideline exists for a specific circumstance. For instance, you need to know that there are guidelines associated with anemia related to malignancies, right? So if a person has anemia or they have just some other complications, you should kind of just be familiar, like, hey, there you go. I remember that. Okay. Nonetheless, you should be familiar with how to reference those guidelines where they live, either in your book, in the MCG manual, or the CMS, that PDF that I've given you. All right. Somebody say, hello, I'm here. Hi, Brenda. She's amazing. You all are. Now, I'm done talking. It's time for you to kind of just review what you already know. Okay. All right. Here's a true and false question. When a primary malignant neoplasm has been previously excised and there is no further treatment directed to that site, the coder should assign a personal history of malignant neoplasm code rather than an active malignancy code. True or false? What say you? Okay, those answers are coming through the chat, and the answer is true. And you know why it's true? Because the patient had to have that neoplasm previously excised and no further treatment, or the doctor has to specify it, right? So it should be in the documentation. So it doesn't exist, so you're not going to code it as active. You code it as a history of. Outstanding. Great job, great job, great job. Number two, if documentation states history of breast cancer and the patient is currently receiving chemo for breast cancer, the condition should still be coded as history of malignancy. True or false? What say you? Those answers are coming through. Outstanding, outstanding. I'm glad that I don't care if you're wrong. I love the courage because you're going to get it right eventually, right? And that's priceless. All right, so if you said false, outstanding, because the documentation, although it says history of breast cancer and the patient's still receiving chemo, what are they receiving chemo for? Right? It's still active. One thing about cancer, in order to code it as history, it has to be completely eradicated. Even if they're eradicated and no treatment, there's treatment happening. So, therefore, you do not code it as the history of a malignancy. You don't. This person probably still has a malignancy, but in the real world, you're going to query that doctor just for clarification. Why did you put history? Because there could be a circumstance where they're receiving chemo for something else. Don't know, but always be sure. But this is not a history if they're still receiving treatment. That's right. They are doing an amazing job. All right, number three, true or false. When a patient has a primary malignant neoplasm and documented secondary site, both the primary and secondary malignancy codes should be reported unless the primary site has been excised and is no longer being treated. True or false? What say you? Good job, everyone. Good job. That's right, Mr. Sandeep. They are on fire. You are. And the answer is true. I think we drove that home. You guys got it. You do. So, confirmed eradication of cancer is coded as a history of cancer, Z85. So, if it's gone, it's gone. I'm talking about that primary cancer, right? But you do code both as long as the patient has both conditions. Now, we're not talking about sequencing, we're talking about just coding them, right? And this is in line with section 4 guidelines, outpatient coding guidelines, right? If a patient has chronic conditions, you're supposed to code all of them as long as they coexist at the time of the encounter. All right. So I might be talking over somebody's head, but the person that's taking their CCS, you know what I'm talking about. All right. All right. True or false? Anemia documented as due to malignancy should be coded by assigning the malignancy first, followed by the anemia code. Okay, coders, if you have the MCG manual, go to malignancy, look up complications, anemia. All right. Complications, anemia. And then you want to look at anemia due to malignancy. Look at this. Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. I see you, Vina. Vina, is this you from yesterday? Type in the chat. You guys are doing an amazing job. Good job, Francois. Good job. I hope your name is Angela or Cangela. That's pretty. Delicia, hello, hello, hello. Linda, Jackie, welcome, welcome. Shaka or Shak Khan? All right. Good job, good job, good job. I'm going to say all of your names. So if I didn't say you, I will by the end of the day hopefully said to everyone, hello Patricia. Case, our intern is here and the answer is true. Absolutely. That's it. And you might say, "How do I know?" I want to know you. How do you all know that? How do you know that? Because this is a guideline, right? Right. So this is guideline IC2C, coding and sequencing of complications, anemia associated with malignancy, right? So if the anemia is due to the malignancy, this is what you do. You sequence first the malignancy, followed by your dehydration, or excuse me, your anemia. Now, coders, you're not supposed to remember that. No, just know there's a guideline and go reference it. Good job. Good job. Good job. Outstanding. All right. True or false? If the provider documents rule out malignancy, a malignant neoplasm code may be assigned if the clinical suspicion is high. True or false? What say you? All right. No one fooled you. Absolutely false. It must be documented as a malignancy. Outstanding. That's right. You're rocking, you're rocking, you're rocking. Go, Yvonne. All right. Fatima, Kathy, Anu, I see you. All right, Melissa, I see you too. All right, so true or false? When a patient's admitted solely for radiation therapy for a malignant neoplasm, the encounter should be coded with an appropriate radiation therapy encounter code as principal. True or false? Okay, Mace, I see you. Amber, that's what I'm talking about. Jackie, you know what? Vina, Kathy, Yvonne, Brenda, I see you. All right, Lucky, Angela. Okay, Nicole. I think this is the first time I've seen you since last time. So if I missed you, I apologize. Okay, Melissa, you know what they all said? 100% of you said true. Absolutely. You got a code for the encounter if the reason for the encounter is the encounter. Don't mean to confuse you, but I use encounter 3 times. Encounter will be sequenced first if the reason for the encounter is the encounter. I think it's going to stick for somebody. All right, last one. If a patient has a secondary malignant neoplasm, but the primary site is unknown, the secondary malignancy is reported along with a code for malignant neoplasm of unknown primary site, if documented. True or false? What say you? All right, you all got it. It's true. So if you don't know the site, then you use that code, that neoplasm of unknown primary site. Now you notice this question doesn't talk about sequencing, right? And that's the nature of this beast. It really, really is. But I do have some sidebar gems for you, right? Why is it saying infectious diseases up here? We're going to fix that right now. I didn't catch that last time. So we have some sidebar gems for neoplasm diseases, right? Let me fix it. I'm fixing it on the back end. And what I want you to do is to be able to recognize the following codes on site. You should be able to distinguish some things. For instance, C00 through C60. This part of the C category, the lower part, this is all primary cancer. So on site, without looking, you know that this is primary cancer. This is the primary source of cancer. Now, C77 through C79, this pretty much not, there might be something I'm missing, but C77 through C79, this is pretty much secondary cancer. This is cancer that has metastasized or moved from the primary site, right? On site. If you know that when you take your exam and the way you're demonstrating that you know guidelines, you're going to be able to answer some questions without looking them up in the book. And I just want to let you know that's a gem. Now, this Z51, this is that encounter category, Z51. So if someone's reason for the encounter is to have chemo, radiation, or radio beam, that Z51 will be sequenced first. So if you have a scenario with a bunch of codes, and this is an encounter scenario, and Z51 isn't sequenced first, you can go ahead and eliminate those. All right. And finally, Z85, this is your history of cancer. And that cancer has to be completely eradicated from the body for the patient to have a personal history of cancer. All right. Now, again, just knowing these things, these 4 items, it will give you a tremendous time advantage. Indeed. All right. All right, so here are some, someone asked, like, how do you look up this in the MCG? You just basically grab your MCG manual, go to the table of contents, and click on, sorry, this is, is up one. All right, so chapter 2, neoplasms. And then go to the FTRs and scroll until you see your FTR. All right, so now it's time for a challenge. It's time for a challenge. You all ready? All right, so the challenge is try without looking up the answers in the code book. Well, you don't really even have to because I put the code language next to it, right? Maybe I should not have put the code language, but nonetheless, of the following, which best describes the encounter? A, Z12.31, B, C50.412, C, N63, and D, R92.2. A 63-year-old female presents for diagnostic evaluation of a palpable mass in the left breast. Imaging reveals a suspicious lesion in the upper outer quadrant. A core needle biopsy confirms invasive ductal carcinoma. Of the following, which best describes the encounter? And if you want to say why you chose your answer, that would be great. It would be. But while you are putting your answers in the chat, for those of you that are kind of watching the screen, if you look at these category on site, these category letters, it's going to give you an advantage. So when you were in the introduction to medical coding, the AMCI introduction to medical coding, or part one, or whatever part, or wherever you learned it, you should have learned it earlier. But we teach you to kind of recognize these letters on site. You know, Z, these are your account, your encounter or status codes, not necessarily a diagnosis. C is for cancer, N is for the genital urinary, R is for your signs and symptoms on site. So even if this wasn't written here, if you understand some basic guidelines, you could answer this question without looking anything up in the book. So now, and you all did an amazing job. A lot of you knew the guideline. And if you didn't know the guideline, you probably may not have gotten it correct. But guess what? You're going to learn something, and that's priceless. All right, so here is my inventory. How do you inventory? Well, you write down all diagnoses, signs and symptoms, treatment, and procedures. And I do it in the order presented. So the first is the diagnosis of the mass of the left breast. Then the patient had imaging, which confirmed a suspicious lesion. Then, and that lesion was in the upper outer quadrant of the left breast. Then that patient had a core needle biopsy, which confirmed that they indeed have invasive ductal carcinoma, right? So Section 4 guidelines, the general guidelines say that when you have signs and symptoms that are integral to a diagnosis, related diagnosis, you don't generally code those signs and symptoms 9 times out of 10. So we're going to eliminate signs and symptoms on this list that's related to invasive ductal carcinoma. So that mass in the breast is an indicator or a sign or sign for the doctor because they did view it of carcinoma. So we're going to get rid of that. We're also going to get rid of this suspicious lesion. And what we're going to keep is this upper outer quadrant because this is the location of the carcinoma, and we're going to say that this invasive ductal carcinoma is the answer. That's the reason for the encounter, right? When it all boils down, the patient had the mass, they had the lesion, and that was an indicator of something bigger, and that this is the true reason for the encounter. So we're going to say B is your answer because C50.412, this is the code for malignant neoplasm of upper outer quadrant of left female breast. So if you learn something, that's priceless. And if you got it correct, outstanding. All right, ready for the next one. Oh, there's a gem. Let's read this gem. When a patient's diagnosed with cancer, do not code the signs and symptoms. So that's just a basic gem to remember. All right, let's do it again. Of the following, which best describes the encounter? A. C78.7, B. C18.9, C. C78.7, C18.9, and D. C18.9, C78.7. A 70-year-old male with known colon cancer presents for evaluation and management of new liver lesions. Imaging confirms metastatic liver disease, and treatment is initiated for the liver metastasis. There is no current therapy for the primary colon tumor. Wow. Wow. You all are incredible. Somebody's over there saying hello. No, I had to give you an opportunity to answer. Oh, okay. Hi, Kathy. All right, so here is the inventory. And also, I want to know there are quite a few of you here, and about 10% of you, maybe 25% of you are answering pretty quickly. So I like to kind of take a pause and ask the others, how is this pace? Is it too fast? Because I want to know why you may not be answering. Is my pace too fast? Go ahead and type in the chat. That's right. Oh, somebody's audio went out. Okay. Or are you saying mine? No, it wasn't out. I wasn't talking. I was just being quiet if it was me. Go ahead and let me know what this pace is. And also, if you're answering, let me know if this pace is too just right or too fast or too slow. Want to know. Outstanding. There you go, Jackie. You know what? You look familiar. You do. All right. So she's giving us that guideline. That's what I'm talking about. All right, Miss Star Wars. You're probably going to have to say it again because I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, okay. All right. So somebody says the pace is good for them. Of course it's okay. I remember you. And I'm talking to Jackie. I remember you. Of course, Miss Leslie. You are she's one of my stars. And the same too with Miss Case. Oh, okay. So, all right. We'll see you soon, Lucky. All right, everybody. Here's the inventory. We're going to inventory all diagnoses, signs, symptoms, treatment, and procedures. Patient had colon cancer. Patient, they discovered this new liver lesion. So primary is colon, secondary is liver. Then they did imaging of that liver. Then they start to initiate treatment for the liver and no current treatment for the primary tumor. All right, so they're not really touching that primary. The reason for the encounter, we got to figure it out. Now, we do know that the liver lesion is related to the liver cancer, right? So, because the colon cancer was primary, liver cancer was secondary. It was the second cancer diagnosed. Now, I'm going to go to my MCG manual and I'm going to look up neoplasms. Then I'm going to search for what is pertinent. And I'm looking for admission for treatment of secondary site. And then I'm going to hover over and look at how it's being sequenced. I'm going to sequence first the secondary, and second, the primary. Remember, the cancer being treated will be your primary. And you know what? I don't really even have to look these up so much because I gave you a little gem and I said the lower C's under 66 are primary. So anything that's primary being sequenced first, I'm going to eliminate it. So B and C were going to be eliminated on site. And then A is only coding for the secondary, and C is coding secondary first, followed by primary. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of A because I have to code both cancers because they coexist at the time of the encounter. So if you said C outstanding and remember this gem, pay attention to the cancer being treated. So when you have a scenario, lock in on what's being treated. All right? And remember, you code chronic diseases as long as they exist at the time of the encounter. And this is outpatient coding only, not inpatient, outpatient. All right, not facility, outpatient and professional. Okay, so if you said C, way to go. All right, let's redo. Let's do a redo. How you all feeling? Oh, okay, got it, got it, got it. All right, of the following, which best describes the encounter? A, D64.81, Z51.11, B, D64.81, Z51.11, C340.90, C, D64.81, C34.90, T45.1X5A, and D, Z51.11, C34.90, D64.81. Okay, coders, without even reading this scenario, let's have a conversation. So we see these Z codes, Z51, 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 right? Right? So tell me in the chat, what does that mean to you? The Z51 category was the thing that I talked about at the onset, those little gems that you should know. And I said the encounter, the encounter, the encounter. Yeah, so that means that they're there for the chemo. That means that they are there for the chemo. That's what we need to be looking for. Are they there for the chemo, right? Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, are you there for the chemo? A 55-year-old male treated lung cancer and is undergoing ongoing chemotherapy. He presents with fatigue and labs show anemia due to chemotherapy. So he's already had chemo. He's presenting now with fatigue. And then the lab results say, hey, you got some anemia due to your chemotherapy. The provider adjusts the medications and orders supportive care. Okay, coders, what's the answer? Boom, 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 boom. That's right. What say you? What say you? And you know what? It's just a little, gem. That's right, Mr. Sandeep. He's saying boom. Outstanding. And if you want to be sure, go to your MCG manual or your guidelines, right? Chapter 2, ICD-10-CM guidelines, and look up complications due to chemotherapy. Someone said, can we take the MCG manual to the exam? Heck no. You better tap the MCG into your manual. You tap, 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 tap. The MCG is kind of like training wheels because it kind of gets you going. It helps you learn the guidelines, but you can tap as well and watch the tap lectures that show you how to put the guidelines in your manuals. And pretty soon you're not even going to need it. Hi, Miss Rose. All right. I'm going to inventory. You guys are amazing. I love the fact that you're just putting your answers in. Good job. This patient has lung cancer. The patient had chemo. I didn't write it down because that's not this encounter, right? I'm only going to write down what's pertinent to this encounter. They're not having chemo here. They're here at the doctor's office or wherever they came in, and they have fatigue. And the doctor said that this patient has anemia due to the chemo. They didn't have chemo. Just saying. So we're going to get rid of the fatigue because it's related to the anemia and it's also related to lung cancer. And I'm going to go grab that guideline that I told you to reference, IC2C2. This is coding and sequencing of complications of anemia associated with chemo or immunotherapy. And when you have this anemia that's associated with the chemo, this is what you do. Sequence first, your anemia or anemia-related code. Second, your malignancy. And third, the complication code, T45.1X5. If this is the first time, A. or D if it's a subsequent, or S if it's a sequela. All right, so right off the bat, we know the answer, right? Yeah, we're definitely going to get rid of this D. We're getting rid of D because it's coding for the chemotherapy encounter. This is not the reason for the encounter. They already had chemo. We're also going to get rid of A because it too is also coding for that encounter. We're also going to get rid of B. It's coding for the chemotherapy encounter. And C, oh, I love C because it's following the pattern of the guideline. First, your anemia related condition. Second, your malignancy. And third, your complication. So if you said C like a lot of you did, way to go. Now, if you learned something, that's priceless. And I hope what you learned was you got to follow that guideline. You go in there and you make sure that you pay attention to the guidelines. Always reference them when you see complications of anemia associated with chemo. Always reference it until you get it. Some of you going to remember it, and some of you won't. I will be the won't. Okay? So, outstanding job. Outstanding. Answer is C. All right, we got another one. Let's do it. Let's do it. Of the following, which best describes the encounter? A. C56.9, G89.3. B. G89.3. C. C56.9 and D. G89.3, C56.9. A 68-year-old female with metastatic ovarian cancer presents to the palliative care clinic for management of chronic pain. She is not receiving active treatment for the malignancy at this time. Pain medication is adjusted for improved control. Okay, coders, look at that. Look at that. You know what? The Yahi, you know what? Please forgive me, but you are rocking it. I just want to acknowledge you, okay? Good job, everybody. I see you. Oh, Kaylee. Kalitha. I'm sorry. There you go. Beautiful name. Francois, Kathy, go ahead and rock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm just acknowledging them because they answered. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. Okay, Queen Dragon Bee, I love that name. It is super dope. Revan, outstanding. Okay, Miss Haley, you are just encouraging them. You all see Miss Haley in that chat? Mr. Sandeep, Miss Star Wars Girls, Miss Meals. All right, all right, all right. Okay, everybody. Let's go ahead and inventory. Metastatic ovarian cancer, encounter for chronic pain, no active treatment for malignancy, and pain medicine control. Okay, coders, we're talking about what is the reason for the encounter, right? So the reason for the encounter is the patient's in pain and she received pain medicine control. So I'm going to go to the guideline, the Chapter 2 Neoplasms, admission or encounter for pain control management. Always lock into why are they there? So they're there for pain. And as you can see, there's really no guideline. It just tells you to go see the guideline at Chapter 6. So I just pulled the guideline over for you in the MCG manual, and here it is. When you have neoplasm related pain, and the reason for the encounter is that you're going to sequence your chronic pain, your neoplasm chronic pain first, followed by your neoplasm. All right. So now that we know the guidelines, we can just get busy. We're going to eliminate A because it's sequencing the cancer first, right? The patient's not being treated for cancer, no active treatment. Also, we're going to get rid of C because it's only sequencing the primary. And B and D are left. And we like that pain code, but the guidelines say, hey, you have to sequence pain first, followed by your malignancy. B is not coding for the malignancy, so we're going to get rid of B, and D is the answer. And the guidelines, or my gem, is anytime there's a neoplasm related pain keyword, pain codes are sequenced first if that is the reason for the encounter. Now, coders, I hope some of you understand the significance of guideline understanding and the role the guidelines play. And when you take your medical coding exam, they want to know if you know this guideline. So when some people are saying, "Hey, I took it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times," 9 times out of 10, it's they didn't know they needed to study the guideline. They just kind of started looking up codes and thought that was it. But no, this is it. Yeah. So if you said D, outstanding, but if you learned something, that is priceless. And I love how they're rocking it in the chat. I don't know who that is, but you are so right. Good job, good job, good job. All right, we got another one. Is this the last one? It might be. Let me just check real quick, okay? It is. Which best describes the encounter? A, C64.1, B, Z08, C, Z51.11, D, Z08, Z85.528. A 60-year-old male had a partial nephrectomy for renal cell carcinoma 3 months ago and now presents for a follow-up CT or to check for recurrence. And CT is CAT scan. No evidence of residual or recurrent tumor is found. He is not receiving any active treatment. Okay, coders, I know you all got this. What say you? Okay, okay. You all are rocking the chat, just rocking it. I love the answers coming through. Just keep them coming, keep them coming. That's right, Mr. Sandeep. They are amazing, amazing. All right, Vina, did you answer me? Go ahead, type in the chat. Are you the same Vina from yesterday? Or are you the Vina that's in the MCDC class? Let me know. All right, SP means status post. Post means that they had surgery before. So their status post partial nephrectomy. So they had partial kidney removal. And the reason they had it was due to renal cancer or kidney cancer. All right. And the encounter today is they had a CT scan to check for recurrence, right? So they had the surgery. Now they're here to see if there's any recurrence. And the answer is no evidence of a residual or recurrent tumor. So it's gone, right? And if it's gone, we're going to go and look up the guideline IC2D. This is primary cancer previously excised, right? So when it's previously excised, the guideline says use Z85 category. That's where your code has to come from. Now, it doesn't say where it should be sequenced. It says you just need to use it. And only one of the answers is, and D is. They're sequencing first the encounter for follow-up treatment after renal cancer, because that is the reason for the encounter. And this patient does have a history of renal cancer because it fits the guideline. Previously excised and treatment is no longer receiving the treatment. So the gem that we're going to drop is when cancer is eradicated from the body after surgery in the course of chemo or radiotherapy, you can use Z85. And the doctor can say the patient no longer has cancer. That's sufficient enough. All right, Miss Vina, you better come. That is my girl. She got me straight yesterday. Miss Vina said, "Hey, you need to kind of check this guideline." That's what I'm talking about. So if you say the answer is D, way to go, way to go, way to go. Outstanding. Outstanding. All right. So coders, if you got them correct, outstanding. If you learned something, you know what? This is so big to me. If you learned something, that's priceless. Now I got some final words for you, and I just want to focus on what we need to do next week. And also, if you have comments, go ahead and put them in the chat, right? But next week, you got to go watch the playback. This is the playback, not from this class. No, it's the playback from the original class. So there's more um, information that, you need, more ground or instructional ground level or instructional information on endocrine system. Go ahead and read your guidelines from the MCG manual. If you have the Bucks book, go ahead and read it. Somebody said they liked it. I believe it was Miss Lucky. And then watch the this lecture on endocrine sections. There are 4 parts to it. Click there. Then the TAP has some lectures in it. And there's some additional neoplasm practice questions. It's in Discord if you have, I believe, I'm not sure what you have to have. Somebody help me. But if it's in Discord, I believe you have to be bronze level. And if you purchase the workbook, go ahead and do it. And the playback from this section, from this session, will be in your um, playlist after class immediately. So this one will be after, in the appropriate section in the neoplasms section. So you don't have to look around for it. And if you are in the gold course, the gold LMS, it's this course, but they have their own LMS. Everything is neatly in the order presented. So you don't have to look around for anything. You don't have to go to Discord. You just kind of go to your LMS. So just want to, oh, sorry about that. Oh, kind of got ahead of myself. Just want to just remind you to go to that Monday class. Go to the Monday class. Also use your Quizlet. Definitely use Quizlet. And what am I doing here? I'm looking for something. I'm looking for the link for the survey, right? I'm not going to miss it this week. I tend to do that. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it in the chat. Yes, somebody's in here co-signing that Monday class. They said that Monday class is beneficial. It is a guideline class, and Miss Haley is doing it. So make sure that you go there. Also, make sure that you go to IMTAP. Yes, interactive medical terminology and anatomy. Go there and practice the anatomy. We're going to be talking about endocrine, right? Well, yeah, endocrine. So next Wednesday. So you'll be ready for class, right? Okay. So if you have questions, go ahead and place them in the chat. I will try to answer them for you. Also, I want to thank my team. I want to thank Mr. Sandeep, Ms. Mills, Miss Haley. And you know what? I want to say thank you to my interns, Miss Star Wars Girl, Miss Case. I think I saw those two. And if I missed anyone, please forgive me. And you coders, thank you for showing up week to week to week. If you got questions, I'm here. All right, so if you have questions and you don't have time to put it in the chat, put it on the survey. I do read those surveys. I do. Wait, somebody was up there saying they were bronze and they were looking for something. If I don't find you, please ask your question on the survey. If you want to know where it's located, it's in the awesome, awesome. Good job, good job. Thank you for letting me know that. You have access. All right, everybody. On that note, I'm going to say so long. You all are amazing, and I'll see you next Thursday.
4,000 exam passers and free classes at AMCI. Learn to coach straight from home or on the road at AMCI. We're on the East Coast, the West Coast. We're all around the world. AMCI.